Hello and welcome back to Let's Play Alundra. On the last episode we cleared out the coastal cave and met the second of the 7 sages who are supposed to be giving us crests to eventually defeat Melzus. Obviously we didn't get the crest because of those stupid monkeys, but at the very least we did get the water scroll, our second magic spell, and more importantly, the Merman Boots, giving us the ability to swim. We cannot swim in deep water, only the shallow water. I guess since we already survived one shipwreck, the game designers didn't want us taking our chances wandering out to sea a second time. But we can at least use this ability to swim behind Navis' house, pick up that chest I pointed out a couple of episodes ago, and to get our 12th Gilded Falcon. We've also, I should point out, or I should say I mentioned during the last episode, picked up over 400 guilders, meaning that we can go back to Lurvy's shop and pick up the other purchasable life vessel. So let's go do that now. There's also a bunch of stuff that we can pick up that I could have gotten immediately after we got the Iron Flail or the long boots from the Ancient Temple, but opted not to because we happened not to be heading in that direction anyway. In general, for the purposes of this LP, I'm trying really hard to minimize the amount of backtracking I want to do, and also the amount of editing, the amount of footage and backtracking I have to cut out. So in general, I'm not going to be picking up every item and every collectible immediately after it becomes available, but rather I'm going to try to give preference to when I happen to be passing by or close to its direction in the first place. And of course there will also be things like the magic drop a couple of episodes ago that I simply forgot, and I'll do my best to get everything in that case and to correct things when I can. This will, of course, be a 100% walkthrough. So we will be getting everything eventually, and I will do my best to get as much of it on camera as possible. Hopefully all the actual pickups themselves. But if we get a few things out of order, or if you happen to know there's something I missed that I haven't shown on camera yet that I could pick up now, my apologies, but I will be getting it later. Another Gilded Falcon here. Of course, we just needed the long boots to get that, so we could have gotten it before the Coastal Cavern. But again, we're heading in this direction. Gold bar in this chest, something else we can pick up. That enemy over there is a lizard man. It's, for the most part, from a combat standpoint, just an upgraded version of the goblins we've been facing in the Coastal Cave, and the same reason why I initially called them lizard men when I fought them the first time, because at least that variation of the lizard man fights exactly the same. We'll be seeing a lot more of them later. Another herb, we did use a couple back in the Coastal Cave, so let's replenish our supply. Over here is another one of those Stonehenge archways. At this point, considering that you've probably noticed that these archways appear relatively evenly spaced throughout the countryside, usually fairly close to certain important landmarks, it should be pretty obvious if you're familiar with the genre what they're going to be used for. I believe I'll state it outright because we were actually passing through the area where we actually got to activate them, although we will be actually performing that side quest in this particular episode. But I'll be spoiling that a little bit later, just to be certain. Again, we're past the, heading towards the Cliffs of Madness now, so jumping into the river here. I believe I pointed this out a few episodes ago when we first got to this area. There's a life vessel in that chest, so we can get to know that we have the Merman Boots. We can swim up this river. The only thing up here are 2 caves to the east of the watermill, one of which contains an herb, and we're happen to be maxed out right now. The other one of which we cannot access right this second. We will be returning there later. I just wanted to show that you could proceed back up that pathway. You can also head down this waterfall. We can also just go down the cliffs the normal way, but this is a little bit more fun, kind of like a water slide. Heading down here, we can climb back up this ladder. We cannot, unfortunately, get out of the river before we reach the bottom, so we do have to climb back up manually. On the middle platform, we pick up a strength tonic, and of course those are basically useless to us since we can only carry one, and they're so weak in terms of healing that I might never use the one we already have. But more importantly, at the top is another Gilded Falcon, so it's 3 Gilded Falcons in 3 minutes and 45 seconds worth of video. It's a significant improvement from the current rate where we were picking up an average of 1 Gilded Falcon per video, so that's nice. Also, I didn't show this when we first showed up at Lurvy's shop. You can jump down this well, actually, so that's kind of interesting, but we can't do everything down here with the items currently accessible to us. I just wanted to show that we could actually head down here for those of you who have played this game before and are aware of the fact that there are items down here. At the bottom, we can pick up a strength elixir, and in fact, considering this is close to one of those archways, and of course, given what they're most likely used for, we will likely be returning here once I finally use the strength elixir I currently have. And of course, we'll be returning here again when I can burn down that briar patch and pick up the other item. But now let's do what we came here for in the first place, and pick up that extra life vessel. This will be our 9th life vessel pickup and our 19th life vessel overall. And I should note that we are currently at 14 Gilded Falcons and 19 life vessels. Now, I'm pretty OCD about these kinds of things, and I like my collectibles to be at even multiples of 5. So I'm going to sort of go contrary to what I just explained and wander pretty far off the beaten path to pick up 1 Gilded Falcon and 1 life vessel. I'm going to make a cut right here. And And there we go. Alright, that was kind of awkward. Alright, so we are currently in the cliffs to the north of the watermill. You can wander around to the north of Iona Village, and you'll eventually wind your way up here. It wasn't particularly interesting, because frankly it's more of that really vague platforming that's pretty much defines almost all of the platforming segments in this game, where you can't really see where you're going, you just sort of have to guess. And in fact, it sort of defines this area too. This is the northern area of the Despair Desert, except there's no slow movement characterizing the area now that we've got the long boots. We basically just move wherever we want. So, just a bunch of the same platforming we had to do during the first trip through the Despair Desert. In fact, a lot of the treasures are the same too. There's another strength elixir. They're all over the place now. I mean, these are really useful healing items, so it'd be worthwhile to note where they are. Once the game gets more difficult and we actually have to start using them, I would love to know where to replace them without having to buy some. And now that we've picked up the life vessels, we have next to no reason, other than replacing our healing items, to return to a shop. Although the game does still continue to hand us guilders here and there. So anyway, in any case, as I was saying before regarding the platforming, now that we have our full range of motion, basically the only challenge comes from being able or not able to distinguish where you're supposed to be jumping from. You can lose a lot of time in these areas from choosing poorly. Anyway, we've got the Gilded Falcon, which is what we came here for, so let's cut back outside. There was a small graphical glitch I just smoothed out there. Something wrong with the rendering. And jumping off this little cliff towards where the watermill is, we can pick up our 20th life vessel. So that was definitely worth the side trip, if not for the extra Gilded Falcon, because we were obviously returning there anyway, for the life vessel itself. Again, yeah, this is the watermill. That upper desert area is actually where we're going to return to activate the teleport archways. Yes, they are teleport archways, in case you had any other guesses, they were wrong. Let's return to Iona Village now, because there was basically nothing in between the village and where we were, and talk to the villagers. Again, one of the interesting things about this game is that a lot of things happen off-screen while you're, ostensibly off at the beach like we were, taking a little vacation. Since we left, apparently a female traveler showed up, and she has the same powers as Alundra, meaning that most likely she's an Elna just like us, the only other one we're going to meet in the entire game. I'm also going to spend some time talking to people, because in order to actually get inside Myra's house, we have to activate a few kind of obtuse event flags. But this is a good time to show up some of the changing dialogue for the villagers over the course of the game. As we proceed with the storyline, it should be noted that something of a divide shows up between people who support Alundra's efforts, despite the fact that he tends to fail pretty often. Kind of want to go to Eustel's house there to replenish our magic, but I guess we'll do that later. Anyway, between the villagers that support Alundra wholeheartedly, like Septimus and Jess, and the ones whose opinion of Alundra slowly declined because he happens to sort of fail to save the individual villagers, people like Bonaire, and I mean, we've already seen this to some extent from Giles, they see him as a portent of really bad things happening, when realistically, we know the actual causes of Melzus, and in fact we're doing everything in our power to save the villagers, at least in terms of what the game restricts us to do. But as you can see here, let's talk to Keisha. Remember, she lost her boyfriend, Olin. But apparently Giles has gone totally off the deep end. He actually apparently wants to see us dead. So, Giles, of course, might not be salvageable in terms of his opinion of us, but certain people like Bonaire just dislike us because, we basically killed the woman who's about to be his girlfriend. Now, Rumi and Mead and Wendell, we saved them outright, so of course they're still on our side for the most part. They've got something interesting to say, too. Klein is apparently beginning that descent into madness that was hinted at during Sybil's visions a little while ago. Yeah, of course, he was the one who gave us the hint about going to the coastal cave, and now he's apparently pissed off that we didn't take him along with us to the beach. Nessus is a little bit more pragmatic and talks to us about our next objective. Yes, it's not really a spoiler alert. We knew Klein was turning into a monster, or maybe already was. And now, of course, we might have reached the point where things have gone too far and we've got to go inside his dream. Let's go talk to Septimus and make sure that he's still on our side. And of course he is. I believe this is one of the event flags we need to trigger. Myra went into shock. That's Nadia's mother. Of course, she's been under a lot of duress because her daughter just died, aside from the fact that they were staying up for days at a time because if her daughter fell asleep, things exploded. So, of course, much like Phineas with Bonaire, Myra's finally passed out from exhaustion. Let's go chop down this flower. Yeah, there's a chicken in that flower, which is really weird. I guess it wouldn't be a Zelda game if there weren't chicken-related Easter eggs somewhere in the village. Let's, now Yuri's moved out of the way, so we can go talk to Myra and meet the new entry to the village. Now, of course, in any drama, the protagonist tends to have a foil, And in this case, it happens to be that character up there, our distaff counterpart, Maya. This is useful. Where were you when I needed you? You have to refill my magic. What's up with that? So yeah, Maya is super, super serious and extremely practical from a personality standpoint. It's basically how she serves as a, an actual foil for Alundra, where we're a stereotypical hero who always jumps to, rescue the various villagers in their times of need and distress. Maya will basically only do what's absolutely necessary. Of course, she's also, currently, she's got a better success rate than us. I mean, we have allowed all 4 of the miners and Bonaire to die. And Myra's basically 1 for 1 right now. Oh yeah, there's some deep navel gazing going on right now, in case you're following the dialogue. Septimus and Beaumont are basically explicitly stating the choice of philosophies that I'm sort of talking about sort of by inference right now. Yeah, so Septimus is all about dreams and being idealistic. Of course, Jess, the example that he uses is not a particularly good example. I mean, if Jess can only sort of muster up the ability to smith interesting things when people die, then maybe he just sucks and needs better motivation. Let's hear what she has to say about this. Yeah, see, unspeakable risk, putting humanity in grave danger. Let me tell you, humanity is already in grave danger. There is an elder god hidden beneath the lake that is actively trying to kill everybody in the village. We should probably be working on that right now. I think now is probably the time for idealism. But anyway, now we're sent in a scripted event back to Jess's house to sleep for very good reason. Because there's about to be a cutscene with an attempt on our life. Hi, Klein. How you doing? Sure, what's up? Yeah, see? That's not exactly what we were expecting. Like I said, this game got pretty dark pretty fast, especially considering that there really wasn't anything particularly heavy going on in the coastal cave. We just had a really random side quest out in the desert. Where the heck did he go? Like, we didn't hear a crash. He didn't come through the window. There isn't a hole in the ceiling. How could you not notice where he went? Let's save our game anyway, since, this is usually what you do when you feel like you're about to die in a video game, right? You save so that you can reboot when you do die. Isn't really a risk here. Everything here is scripted. We're basically just triggering another series of event flags before we gain the ability to go into Klein's nightmare. Yeah, you'll notice over the course of the next 2 cutscenes, almost everybody actually saw Klein acting really creepy, but nobody bothered to actually do anything about it or bring it up to Maya, in spite of the fact that people seem to trust her better than they trust us. I mean, except for Septimus. So, as usual, again, this is part of the consequences of people starting to turn very slowly against Alundra, is that the people we can actually enlist to help us for, objectives like this become very limited. Septimus, of course, we have to notice that, by the way, Usel's door is closed here. We're going to come back here in a little bit later. And no, I'm sorry, that's Yuri's door. Never mind, that's supposed to be closed. My mistake. First, let's check out Klein's house, because that's sort of where you'd expect him to go. Of course, he's not here, but the door was open, so that's kind of weird. I mean, of course, we know he's out and about. We know he's out for, a midnight constitutional. By constitutional, I mean violating our constitutional rights to live, or something along those lines. Let's check out Myra's house. The door is open. Seems like it would draw his attention. And there he is. You notice that also, of course, in standard horror fashion, the first thing we did was split up. Septimus just went wandering off. And of course, he went chasing after Klein. And we just went, our own separate ways. And of course, that's because I know where the event flags are. The next one is up here at Wendell's house. And how the hell did Septimus get up there? How does he move faster than us? Maybe he can teleport like Klein can, or whatever Klein did to get inside the house. Klein, jumped through the side of the map when he got out of Jess's house. It was really weird. Everything about this cutscene is just really bizarre. Sort of mind-bending. Let's go, check out... and at this point, I actually went to check out Klein's house again, because I actually thought that Yuri's house was Ustel's house. The last event flag we're supposed to trigger is at Ustel's house, and I kind of made a mistake here. Went back to Klein's house, assuming that we had triggered all 3 of the necessary event flags, or that I was mistaken in believing that Ustel's house is the 3rd flag, because as I mentioned previously, the guide I'm using kind of sucks. But now that I'm sort of back on the right track, let's head back to the fortune teller's house. There we go. And there he is one more time. Again, since he seemed to want us dead, I'm not really sure why he isn't going after either Alundra or Septimus. Yeah, that's a good idea. He tried to kill us in our bed. Let's go back to sleep. Freaking brilliant. I can see why everybody comes to you for intellectual matters, why you're the learned man of the group. Anyway, we did manage to survive the night. I mean, Alundra does have those Batman-esque reflexes that allowed him to not get eviscerated by Klein the first time around, so I'm guessing maybe Klein doesn't see us as easy of a prey as he thought as I guess he thought in the first place. Yeah, Nightmare is probably more likely considering that we've already, dealt with that like 3 or 4 times over the course of the game right now. Yeah, let's go take care of that. Good idea. That's exactly what Septimus wanted us to do, so, I mean, let's go do it, right? Chronic hero syndrome and all that. Of course, now, finally, Klein is back in his house. Klein was also, apparently, the one person keeping the Murg at bay. He was the village hunter, and apparently the only one who kept all of those monsters outside from invading the village. So that kinda sucks if something happens to him. Like I said, no Klein, you are the monsters. Way back when we saw that vision from Sybil in the first place. Let's go talk to Beaumont. What do you have to say? Basic cable, fantastic. Both irrelevant and anachronistic. Ha, 2 for 1. Screw you, working designs. Yeah, and Maya's no better. She's a complete downer. I mean, frankly, from Maya's standpoint, I don't really care, if there's nothing we can do for Klein. I want to go in his brain and find the one Gilded Falcon and the one life vessel that's inside everybody's subconsciousness, apparently. I mean, we need to collect them all, right? So, I mean, sure, he might die, but, I get my treasures, right? Okay, fine, at the very least, we'll find a little bit more about what's infecting the people, maybe. Yes, I nod at your words because it's all I can do. I'm a mime. That's how these games work. You seem cold-hearted because you are cold-hearted. But alright, we're going to enter Klein's dream, enter his subconscious, and we'll find out what's inside on the next episode of Let's Play Alundra. I will see you then, as soon as we hit yes. Bingo.